Welcome to the Sharkpreneur podcast with Kevin Harrington and Seth Greene. Kevin Harrington is the inventor of the infomercial, one of the original sharks from the hit TV show Shark Tank, and has generated over $5 billion in TV and digital direct response sales. Seth Greene is the world's first trusted authority on cutting-edge direct response marketing, a best-selling author, and the only 3-time Marketer of the Year nominee. On the podcast, Kevin and Seth interview Sharkpreneurs who share straight talk on what it takes to explode your business.
49 faces looked to him in triumph. Over the last 12 months, they had each taken turns and promoted his business for a week at a time, driving over $987,342 in revenue. What if you had a network of 50 centers of influence who promoted your business every week for a year? Grab your copy of the #1 Amazon best-selling book, The Ultimate Guide to Growing Your Business with a Podcast, at 33% off the Amazon price by going to ultimatepodcastbook.com. Again, that website for 33% off the Amazon price is ultimatepodcastbook.com.
Welcome to the podcast. This is your co-host, Seth Greene. Today, I've got the good fortune to be talking to Andy Culligan, a fractional CMO, CRO, and marketing advisor who specializes in helping SaaS startups scale smarter and faster. Andy, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Seth.
Our pleasure. Let's go back in time a little bit. How did you get started in the first place?
How far back do you want to go? They opened up a can of worms here for me, Seth. So I started my career in sales way back when. I studied to be a marketer, I decided after a number of years in sales to go back into marketing. Joined a large multinational, and very quickly became their head of Martech, probably the best way to put it. Ran a very early instance of Marketo and Salesforce. So people are probably familiar with Marketo. I think it was bought by Adobe or Oracle. Bought by Oracle a number of years ago. B2B email marketing tool for no better use of the word. Connected with Salesforce. I became then the global champion in that. Then went into another company which was in tech, which was a company called Emarsis, which is now bought by SAP. I then built the entire lead gen function, let's say, at that particular company. And lead generation then became my thing. Had a global team. Every lead that went through the sales team would have come in through my team. I had people all over, like APAC, US, Europe, everywhere, and all of the lead generation for that company was coming through there. Then I decided to go on and build my career even further. Went then and became a VP of marketing at a competitor where I built the team up from scratch. It was a scale-up organization, and we quadrupled the revenue in the space of 2 years' time. Then went on to another CMO gig there afterwards. Again, very high rapid growth, etc. That high rapid growth came during COVID, small team, etc. After that, I was just like, I'm tired. I need a break. I'd been sprinting for what was almost 10 years at that point. And I just said, you know what? I just need a bit of a break. I need a bit just to figure things out, just spend some time with the family or whatever. And immediately people started reaching out to me being like, hey, would you be interested in coming on full time? And I was like, no, thank you, but I can help. And then that help sort of spiraled and has turned into what I do today. So that was in 2021. So we're almost 5 years into it now. And I say we because it's not just me anymore. Companies are coming to me saying, hey, I need you to take over our entire go-to-market motion or function. We need you to bring a team in. We need you to bring people in that know what they're doing, etc. So now I've got an entire external marketing team that we then plant into your organization to help you grow. And now I can breathe.
I am sure the longer version of that probably could fill a book somewhere if it hasn't already. So you've mentioned, like, you've held roles from SDR to global demand generation to CMO, and now you're, a number of fractional services. What's that transition like? I mean, from one, you're fully internal in one organization, and now you're fractional. What kind of surprised you the most in that shift?
How much you can actually get done when you're not full time, right? I think there's a huge amount of wastage time, for no better use of the word, when you're working full time with a company. I've surprised myself at how many plates I can spin at once and still get stuff over the line. I think the thing about being fractional is you need to be providing value as much as you can because you're a contractor, right? So you need to be trying to add that little bit of value every single day. And how do I do that? Is normally through execution. Most marketing teams or sales teams that I work with don't have any less so on the sales org, but more so on the marketing. They're not focused on getting stuff over the line, getting stuff delivered for whatever reason. It might be because of 25 rounds of feedback from everyone, from the CEO all the way down to board members. I've seen like no BS here. It's crazy just to get simple things over the line. I don't have time for that, so I just come in and kick over tables and make sure that we're doing that. So that's why I think I've ended in a position where like I'm surprised at how many companies we can work with at once and see a lot of results very quickly, just because of that. But we don't get ourselves involved in any of the BS that you would typically if you're a full-time employee as well. So politics and all that type of stuff. There's no time for it. So yeah.
That answers that question. What who is an ideal client for you for the firm?
So yeah, we work with B2B tech companies is probably the best way. SaaS, people immediately think volume SaaS when you say SaaS, whereas we work both across volume SaaS and high ticket SaaS. Volume SaaS being very transactional, a bit like a B2C play, high volume, low cost. Whereas we also, a lot of our experience comes with the high ticket SaaS, i.e. larger ticket sizes, minimum 100K a year contracts, fewer customers. So the company might be working with, I don't know, 1,000 customers that are paying 100K each a year rather than 50,000 customers paying $10 each a year type of thing. So where, funnily enough, where we've managed to build a lot of our book of business from is companies that sell into the e-commerce space. I think there's a reason behind that because that space is super saturated when it comes to technologies. But we also have the experience on the team from the likes of Emarsis and Bloomreach, for example. That I was the VP of marketing at Exponia, which is now Bloomreach. And also, as well as that, we also work together with B2B sales and marketing tools. So my background with Leadfeeder, for example, I was a CMO there for a number of years. That's a pure B2B sales tool, right? And I have quite a few customers and ex-customers, for example, in the CRM space. So I've worked with a number of those. So yeah, that's it.
What are some of the biggest issues you're helping them solve?
As I mentioned to you, so one of the key issues is in execution. So I can talk about two particular ongoing projects that we have at the minute. One is that a company has received a particularly large amount of money from a funding perspective to go grow, and they don't have the team in place in order to do it. So they need hands on deck. They don't only need hands on deck; they need hands on deck that know what they're doing, and you need that quickly. So one of the key issues that we find is it's very hard and time consuming and expensive to find good people. And then also to find people that have done it before and are able to do that in a quick manner without any tears, really, right? And that's where we step in and just take that over immediately. And on the execution front, to like on a similar stream, is that what I see is I'm working with another project at the moment that they had somebody was let go from the business that was managing the marketing team, but there was no real guidance or leadership. And with that, everything slowed down. Nothing was being pushed over the line. Content, just as a simple example, had completely died off. They'd only released a couple of pieces of content so far this year. And now it's about like revving the engine back up again and getting people confident in delivering and making sure that they're working towards a plan. Because as much as people think that they might have a plan, unless you have it down on paper and say this is what everybody's going to do, it's not a plan, right? So I typically bring in a plan, bring in the guys from the team. They also come in with the same plan. We build it together. Everybody's on the same page. Let's go execute. Let's get it over the line. Let's make sure that it's 60% perfect instead of 100% perfect before we push it live. Things like that. Just that execution mentality.
Does your team do the strategy, the actual implementation, or both?
Whatever you need. Whatever you need. It's typically strategy always first. Anyway, we're always informing the strategy, right? At least from my perspective, I'm always involved in the strategy. A lot of the times I might come in and work with a head of marketing rather than somebody that's a CMO, because that business may not be ready for a CMO. They may be at that stage in their life cycle where they're, hey, we're not ready for a CMO. We have a good head of marketing, but they just don't have the know-how. Can you please come in and mentor this person and help them create the plan? So sometimes that happens. And then oftentimes with the team, they come in as the executional power to just come in and just make sure the stuff is moving.
How has, all the developments in AI in the last few years affected your business?
So one of the companies that I just mentioned there that's received a large round is a company that's based off of AI. So they are an AI, they are an agentic AI tool, right? And what we're seeing is that there's more business or more funding being pushed towards those businesses. They don't have the go-to-market team. So they need to engage with people like ourselves at Purple Path to help them move when it comes to growth, because we have the go-to-market team and we can place the entire team overnight. At the same time, it enables us. So that's us from a new business winning perspective for our side. When it comes to help execution and helping the team, we use AI every day. So we have ChatGPT, professional license. We have that for the company. Everybody's using it every day. It's simply helping us do things quicker than we used to do in the past. So we have things like competitive intelligence. We've created an agent for that, where we're able to populate a spreadsheet with all of your competitor information based on a number of queries that we put together, right? Things like that, social posts, content creation ideas, etc., etc., etc. Like the list goes on. It just helps us move quicker, basically.
That makes sense. Without giving away your full playbook, what are a couple concrete actions a marketer or a founder can take to better align marketing and sales for real revenue?
Okay. So here's a tip that everyone's always blown away by. Maybe they should just start talking to one another first and foremost. Like I'm always shocked at how little heads of marketing and heads of sales, whoever that person is, CMO, Chief Revenue Officer, VP Marketing, VP Sales, Head of Sales, Head of Marketing, whatever that role is, that they're not aligning with each other on a regular basis. So whenever I go into an organization, I always make sure that whoever is my counterpart in sales, I'm interacting with at least weekly, if not a couple of times a week, trying to get close to that person. I'm trying to understand on the sales side, okay, what are the issues that they're encountering as a sales team, right? And I need to get that feedback, as painful as it is sometimes, right? Because as marketers, you hear a lot of like throwing stuff over the wall at marketers, right? Hey, marketing should be doing this, and marketing need to do better at this, and I have this idea about how marketing should be run, etc. Because at the end of the day, everyone thinks that marketing is easy and everyone can do it, whereas in reality, I challenge anybody to try to do it and see how they get on without the experience in it. But we still need to deal with that. So I think it's really, I say this quite often, it makes me quite unpopular with marketers in that I think it's marketing's job to try to get that alignment, because sales are just going to be focused on opening and closing deals. If you really want to help them, you really want to get on side with them, then you need to go to them and say, hey, look, what are the things you're encountering when you're at the coalface, when you're speaking to prospects, etc.? What type of information do they require? And then you need to tailor your message, etc., to that. Or if they're using the wrong message and marketing has come up with a message that you reckon is going to resonate, then you need to communicate it with sales. So this communication piece. And then it's aligning back to what the sales team do. Go back to your head of sales or your CRO and your chief marketing officer. Like, what are the sales targets and how can you help that person reach their target? Because that's essentially how you'll get into a good relationship with sales. If you're helping them reach a goal, very simple, they'll listen to what you have to say to them, because you're helping put cash in their pockets, basically, right? So but it needs to be driven by marketing. I've never seen it being driven by sales. It's always the other way around.
You've helped so many other businesses achieve success. What's your biggest challenge now?
For my business?
Yeah.
So scaling, right? So this is something that every services business goes through, right? Like we've got real great momentum. I had a call with the team today. We have a call every Tuesday and Thursday, and we were going through, okay, what are some of the key topics for us at the moment, is trying to find people that we're able to bring on board that are able to do a great job, as good of a job as we do, whilst also not absolutely killing our margins, right? That's, and as you win more business, of course, you have more money coming in through the door, so you're able to afford more people, etc. But at the same time, people still, when they come to us, they want to work with me. Like they say, oh, I want to work with Andy. I was like, I can't clone myself. At least that technology doesn't exist just yet. Maybe there might be an Andy agent coming at some point, but there's only so much I can do. And then trying to find somebody else to be able to look after the business rather than just me is a challenge. Now, the guys that we have in the team, they've also got their own focus on various elements of the marketing mix. But when it comes to the CMO piece, I'm the only CMO within the business. And then also, even for the guys, like they're also flat out
Your passion is obvious. What do you like best about what you're doing?
Well, the fun never stops, really. It's like I love working with people, and I like working across various projects all at once. I think when I was just working in one company, I think I would have the tendency to get itchy feet after a couple of years. Now it's like there's so much variety to what I'm doing, and also I feel more secure now in the business that I'm running now than I ever did as a CMO. That was something maybe in my own head. But I think if you look at the average tenure of a CMO, especially in fast moving tech companies, it's like 18 months, something like that. So you've got like this feeling. And now, like I seen it early on when I started the business, I was sort of hedging my bets. So I was sort of like, okay, I'll work with all these various businesses. If one falls away, then it's not the end of the world, It's probably an unhealthy mindset to have when it comes to that. But I don't know. To go back to the point, like I enjoy working with various teams. I like being busy. Like this is something that I need. I feel awkward if there's days where I'm like, okay, the calendar isn't completely full. Something must be wrong. That's the sort of the feeling that I have. But that's not for everyone either. That's a me thing. But no, I think there's so much interesting things that happen on a growth level, which when you're working across numerous organizations, you've got such a large data set to understand what's happening in the market, which I've never had before when I was sitting in the driving seat of just one organization. I'm sitting in the driving seat of 5 organizations all at once. You can tell what's working over here that maybe we can implement over there, or something has happened in this spot where we should probably be careful of over there, or understanding if everybody's struggling during a specific month, that shows that there's something going on in the market when it comes to MarTech. It's just interesting, right?
Absolutely. Well, we know your time's incredibly valuable. We greatly appreciate you spending some of it with us. For our folks who are watching and listening, where is a place for us to send them so that they can learn more about you and the company?
Sure. If you want to find out more about the company, you just go to purplepath.io. Purple Path. And to learn more about me, you can just connect me on LinkedIn, Andy Culligan.
All right. This has been Seth Greene with Andy Culligan of Andy Culligan and Purple Path. Andy, thanks again for joining us.
Thanks, Seth.
Thanks, everybody, for watching or listening. We'll talk to you or see you next time.
Why do so many businesses struggle while others seem to explode overnight? Do you wish you had the secret to this type of exponential growth? Now, I've scaled more than 20 businesses to over $100 million, and it's not just luck. In my new book with Mark Tim, Mentor to Millions, you'll learn the repeatable framework I use in all my business ventures for massive success. Order at kevinmentor.com and get over $1,000 in bonuses. Head to kevinmentor.com.